The Art of War is an ancient Chinese military treatise attributed to the strategist Sun Tzu. Composed over 2,500 years ago, this seminal work has transcended its original purpose and audience to become a timeless guide on strategy, tactics, and leadership. The text is organized into 13 chapters, each dedicated to different aspects of warfare, including planning, tactical positioning, and the use of spies. Sun Tzu's insights emphasize the importance of adaptability, strategic deception, and the efficient use of resources. The principles outlined in The Art of War advocate for winning conflicts through intelligence and strategy rather than brute force. The book's teachings are applicable not only to military operations but also to business, sports, and various competitive fields where strategic thinking is essential. One of the key themes of The Art of War is the concept of knowing both oneself and the enemy, encapsulated in the famous quote, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." This principle underscores the importance of self-awareness and understanding the opponent's strengths and weaknesses to achieve victory. Throughout history, the art of war has influenced leaders and thinkers worldwide, from military generals to corporate executives, proving its enduring relevance across different contexts and eras. The book continues to be studied and revered for its profound wisdom and practical advice on achieving success through strategic planning and execution. Chapter 1. Initial Planning. Sun Tzu said, "War is of vital importance to the state. It is the domain of life and death, the road to survival or ruin. It is necessary to study it deeply." This chapter outlines the 5 fundamental factors that must be considered before engaging in war. Moral law. The moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler, so they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. The unity and support of the people are essential to maintaining cohesion and high morale during conflict. A leader who inspires confidence and loyalty can mobilize his people towards common goals, even in difficult situations. This moral cohesion ensures that the troops will remain loyal and steadfast in the face of adversity, reducing the risk of dissent and mutiny. Heaven. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. The climate can significantly affect military tactics and logistics. For example, winter campaigns may face supply issues and illnesses, while summer campaigns may deal with extreme heat and fatigue. Sun Tzu advises commanders to consider the timing of their campaigns carefully, taking into account the weather conditions that could affect their army's performance. The commander must synchronize his strategies with the natural elements to gain the upper hand. Earth. Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of utilizing terrain to one's advantage. Control of high positions, strategic points, and pathways can offer significant tactical benefits. Additionally, knowing the terrain can allow for ambushes and surprise maneuvers against the enemy. Commanders must be adept at reading the terrain and using it to set traps and create advantageous positions for their forces. The commander stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. Leadership ability is crucial. A wise commander makes informed and strategic decisions. One who is sincere and benevolent gains the loyalty of his men. A courageous leader faces challenges without hesitation, and a disciplined commander maintains order and efficiency in the army. The character and capabilities of the commander directly influence the morale and effectiveness of the troops. A respected and capable leader can inspire his soldiers to perform extraordinary feats. Method and discipline. Method and discipline are to be understood as the marshalling of the army in its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. A clear organizational structure and efficient logistics are essential for military success. Sun Tzu advocates for a well-defined chain of command and robust logistics to ensure that the army operates optimally and can sustain itself during prolonged campaigns. Effective administration ensures that supplies, reinforcements, and communications flow smoothly, minimizing the risk of chaos and inefficiency. Sun Tzu also emphasizes that the art of war is based on deception. When you are able to attack, you must seem unable. When moving your troops, you must seem stationary. Offer the enemy a bait to lure him. Feign disorder and strike him. Deceptive warfare involves confusing and disorienting the enemy, making him react unfavorably. The ability to mislead the enemy about one's intentions and capabilities is a key component of strategic planning. Additionally, Sun Tzu introduces the idea that proper preparation and constant evaluation of these factors can determine success or failure in war. A leader who evaluates these factors and adjusts his strategies accordingly can face any challenge on the battlefield. The ability to adapt to changing circumstances is a crucial skill for any commander. This adaptability allows a commander to respond effectively to unforeseen challenges and opportunities, maintaining the initiative and strategic advantage. Chapter 2. Waging War. Sun Tzu says, "In war, the longer the duration, the further away from victory you will be." This chapter focuses on the importance of speed and economy in military operations. Sun Tzu argues that prolonged war depletes a state's resources and can lead to ruin. When you mobilize your army for an expedition, the cost will be enormous. Transporting equipment over long distances will lead to poverty at home. With each prolonged battle, weapons become blunted and the ardor decays. If your army attacks fortified cities, your forces will be exhausted. Sun Tzu highlights that logistics and supply are crucial. The need to transport supplies over long distances can be costly and exhausting, both for the army and the nation supporting it. Efficient logistics and supply chains are essential to maintain the fighting capability of the army. Sun Tzu suggests that it is better to capture the enemy without destroying him and to use the enemy's resources whenever possible. If you use the enemy's provisions, you will have enough to maintain your troops. A victorious army is one that can obtain what it needs from the enemy. This not only minimizes one's own depletion, but also weakens the enemy by depriving him of resources. Capturing enemy supplies and resources can provide a significant logistical advantage, reducing the burden on one's own supply lines. Moreover, Sun Tzu stresses the importance of maintaining troop morale. Keep your men continually on the move and use the advantages of the terrain. Keep your troops active and move them like the wind. This will prevent demoralization. High morale and fighting spirit are crucial for an army's effectiveness. An army with high morale is more likely to succeed on the battlefield. Continuous movement and engagement keep the troops motivated and focused, reducing the risk of stagnation and complacency. Sun Tzu also notes that speed in military operations is essential to avoid depletion. Act swiftly and decisively. Do not allow the war to drag on and exhaust your resources and the morale of your troops. A wise commander seeks a quick conclusion to hostilities. Swift and decisive action can disorient the enemy and minimize the duration of conflict, thereby reducing costs and risks. Rapid and decisive operations can force the enemy into a reactive posture, allowing the commander to maintain the initiative. In conclusion, this chapter emphasizes the need for efficiency and speed in military operations to avoid resource depletion and maintain high morale. The ability to use enemy resources, keep troops motivated, and act swiftly are key elements to achieving victory without unnecessary prolongation of the conflict. Chapter 3. Strategic Attack. Sun Tzu states that the most complete victory is the one achieved without fighting. It is better to win 100 battles without fighting than to win 100 battles through combat. This principle highlights the importance of achieving objectives through strategic means rather than direct confrontation. In this chapter, he emphasizes the importance of strategy and planning to overcome the enemy. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Therefore, the best general is the one who defeats the enemy's plans. The next best is the one who breaks their alliances. The next best is the one who attacks their army. The worst is the one who besieges cities. Sun Tzu ranks different methods of warfare, with the most desirable being to undermine the enemy's strategy and will to fight without engaging in battle. Direct confrontation is seen as a last resort. Sun Tzu suggests that a leader must be flexible and adapt to changing circumstances. A general must be able to change his tactics and adapt to the conditions of the terrain and the enemy. This will allow him to exploit the weaknesses of the enemy and avoid their strengths. Flexibility and adaptability are crucial for responding to the dynamic nature of warfare. A successful commander must be able to adjust his strategies to the evolving situation on the battlefield. Sun Tzu also emphasizes the importance of intelligence and information. Know the enemy and know yourself, and you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. If you know the enemy but not yourself, your chances of winning or losing are equal. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will be imperiled in every battle. Gathering and analyzing information about the enemy is crucial for strategic planning. The ability to anticipate the enemy's moves and tactics can give a significant advantage. Understanding both one's own capabilities and those of the enemy allows for informed decision-making and effective strategy formulation. Additionally, Sun Tzu highlights the importance of diplomacy and alliances. Breaking the enemy's alliances can be as effective as defeating them on the battlefield. An isolated enemy is more vulnerable and easier to defeat. Diplomacy and politics can play a crucial role in weakening the enemy before the battle begins. By undermining the enemy's alliances and isolating them, a commander can weaken their position and reduce their ability to sustain prolonged resistance. In conclusion, this chapter emphasizes the superiority of strategy and planning over direct combat. Achieving victory without fighting through flexibility, intelligence, and diplomacy is the mark of a truly skilled commander. A good leader must be adaptable, well-informed, and capable of undermining the enemy's strength through indirect means. Chapter 4. Tactical Dispositions. In this chapter, Sun Tzu discusses the importance of tactical disposition and preparation. The art of war teaches us not to rely on the likelihood of the enemy's not coming, but on our own readiness to receive him. Not on the chance of his not attacking, but rather on the fact that we have made our position unassailable. This principle underscores the importance of preparation and readiness over relying on chance or luck. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of training and discipline in the army. An army well disciplined and trained is essential for victory. Proper preparation and organization are key to battlefield effectiveness. Discipline and training not only ensure that the troops are ready for combat, but also that they can respond quickly to orders and adapt to changing circumstances. A well-disciplined army can maintain order and cohesion even under the most challenging conditions. Flexibility and adaptability are also crucial. In war, circumstances are constantly changing. A good commander must be able to adapt to these conditions and adjust his tactics accordingly. This will allow him to take advantage of opportunities. Flexibility and adaptability are also crucial. In war, circumstances are constantly changing. A good commander must be able to adapt to these conditions and adjust his tactics accordingly. This will allow him to take advantage of opportunities and avoid dangers. The ability to quickly adapt to battlefield conditions can mean the difference between victory and defeat. A commander who can swiftly adjust his tactics based on real-time information can exploit weaknesses in the enemy's strategy and fortify his own defenses. Sun Tzu also mentions the importance of maintaining the initiative and strategic advantage. He who arrives first at the battlefield and awaits the enemy will be rested. He who arrives later and rushes into battle will be exhausted. Therefore, good warriors cause others to come to them, and do not go to others. Maintaining the initiative and forcing the enemy to react is an effective strategy. An army that controls the battlefield and dictates the terms of engagement has a significant advantage. This principle emphasizes the importance of preparation and positioning in securing a favorable outcome. Additionally, Sun Tzu underscores the importance of preparation and constant evaluation of the situation. A commander must constantly evaluate the situation and adjust his tactics as necessary. This will allow him to take advantage of opportunities and avoid dangers. The ability to adapt to changing circumstances and adjust tactics accordingly is a vital skill for any military leader. Continuous assessment and flexibility in approach ensure that a commander can respond effectively to unforeseen challenges and capitalize on unexpected opportunities. Chapter 5. Use of energy. Sun Tzu introduces the concept of energy or momentum, in warfare, which refers to the ability to harness the momentum and dynamics of combat to gain an advantage. The control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up the numbers. The accumulated energy can transform unfavorable situations into advantages by leveraging the force and dynamics of one's own army. Concentration of forces is essential. When you concentrate your troops, you should do so in such a way that you can face a superior force with an inferior one and still have an advantage. This is achieved through proper disposition and the use of accumulated energy. Concentrating forces at the right moment and place can create a devastating impact on the enemy. Proper coordination and timing can amplify the effectiveness of the troops, turning the tide of battle in one's favor. Sun Tzu also discusses the importance of using formations and tactics that maximize the efficiency and impact of the troops. In battle, use formations that are advantageous and avoid those that are not. Leverage the strength of your troops and use the terrain to your advantage. Proper tactical formations can enhance the effectiveness of troops and minimize losses. By understanding and utilizing the terrain, a commander can position his forces in a way that maximizes their combat potential and minimizes vulnerabilities. Momentum and energy can transform unfavorable situations into advantages. In battle, the ebb and flow of energy can change the course of events. A good commander knows how to exploit these changes and use them to his advantage. The accumulated energy of one's own forces and the enemy's weakness can be exploited to achieve victory. Maintaining and leveraging momentum is crucial for success in warfare. The ability to sustain and direct the flow of combat energy can turn potential defeats into victories and maintain the initiative. Sun Tzu also emphasizes the importance of maintaining the initiative. In war, initiative is crucial. He who has the initiative can force the enemy to react, while he who loses the initiative is at the mercy of the enemy. Always maintain the initiative and force the enemy to follow your plan. Maintaining the initiative allows control over the pace and direction of the conflict, which can be decisive for victory. A commander who dictates the terms of engagement can exploit the enemy's weaknesses and avoid direct confrontations that might be unfavorable. Finally, Sun Tzu mentions the importance of adaptability and flexibility. In war, circumstances constantly change. A good commander must be able to adapt to these conditions and adjust his tactics accordingly. This will allow him to seize opportunities and avoid dangers. The ability to quickly adapt to battlefield conditions is a vital skill for any military leader. Flexibility in strategy and tactics ensures that a commander can respond effectively to the unpredictable nature of war, maintaining an advantage over a less adaptable enemy. Sun Tzu's principles in these chapters emphasize the importance of preparation, flexibility, the use of deception, and the strategic use of energy and momentum in warfare. These timeless strategies provide valuable insights that can be applied not only in military contexts, but also in various aspects of life and business, offering guidance on achieving success through careful planning, adaptability, and strategic thinking. Chapter 6. Weak Points and Strong. Sun Tzu said, "He who is first on the battlefield and awaits the coming of the enemy will be fresh for the fight. He who is second in the field and has to hasten to battle will arrive exhausted." This chapter focuses on identifying and exploiting the enemy's weaknesses while concealing one's own vulnerabilities. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of flexibility and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Exploiting weaknesses. Attack where the enemy is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Sun Tzu advises commanders to study the enemy carefully and identify weak points to strike decisively. This approach leverages surprise and speed to disorient and overwhelm the opponent. By focusing on weak spots, a smaller or seemingly disadvantaged force can achieve significant victories. Adapting to conditions. In battle, there are no constant conditions. A general must be able to adapt his tactics to the circumstances. Flexibility is crucial for responding to the dynamic nature of warfare. Commanders must be able to shift their strategies and tactics based on real-time information and changing conditions on the battlefield. This adaptability allows for the exploitation of emerging opportunities and the mitigation of risks. deception and misdirection, simulate disorder, and crush him. Deception is a key component of Sun Tzu's strategy. By feigning weakness or disorganization, a commander can lure the enemy into a vulnerable position. Misdirection and false signals can confuse the enemy and force them into making strategic errors that can be exploited. Strategic positioning. He who knows when he can fight and when he cannot will be victorious. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of knowing the strengths and weaknesses of both one's own forces and those of the enemy. A commander must choose the time and place of battle carefully, ensuring that they fight only under favorable conditions. This strategic positioning maximizes the chances of success. Resource utilization. Use the resources of the enemy. The skillful fighter puts himself beyond the possibility of defeat and waits for an opportunity to defeat the enemy. Efficient use of resources, including those captured from the enemy, can provide significant advantages. This approach reduces the strain on one's own supply lines and weakens the enemy by depriving him of their assets. In summary, this chapter highlights the importance of identifying and exploiting weaknesses, adapting to changing conditions, using deception and misdirection, strategic positioning, and resource utilization. These principles enable a commander to maintain the initiative and achieve victory by capitalizing on the enemy's vulnerabilities, while safeguarding their own strengths. Chapter 7. Maneuvering. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected." This chapter focuses on the importance of maneuvering and mobility in warfare. Sun Tzu discusses how to use various tactics to outmaneuver the enemy and gain strategic advantage. Speed and mobility. Move swift as the wind and closely formed as the wood. Attack like the fire and be still as the mountain. Speed and mobility are crucial for gaining the upper hand in battle. Rapid and decisive movements can surprise the enemy and create opportunities for decisive strikes. The ability to move quickly and efficiently allows a commander to seize advantageous positions and dictate the terms of engagement. Using terrain. When crossing mountains, follow the valleys. When crossing rivers, move along upstream. When going far, find cover. When near, show the open. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of using terrain to one's advantage. Understanding and utilizing the natural features of the battlefield can provide significant strategic benefits. Commanders should use terrain to conceal movements, protect their forces, and create favorable conditions for engagement. Deception and ambush. Hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder, and crush him. Deception and ambush are powerful tactics for outmaneuvering the enemy. By creating false impressions and luring the enemy into traps, a commander can gain the element of surprise and achieve significant victories with minimal risk. Ambushes and feigned retreats can disrupt the enemy's plans and force them into vulnerable positions. Communication and coordination. In all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle, but indirect methods will be needed in order to secure victory. Effective communication and coordination are essential for successful maneuvering. Clear and timely communication ensures that all units are aware of the plan and can act in unison. Coordination allows for complex maneuvers and the execution of sophisticated tactics that can overwhelm the enemy. Flexibility and adaptability. In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. Flexibility and adaptability are key to effective maneuvering. Commanders must be able to adjust their plans based on the evolving situation and exploit weaknesses as they arise. This ability to adapt ensures that a commander can respond to unforeseen challenges and seize opportunities for victory. In conclusion, this chapter emphasizes the importance of speed and mobility, using terrain to one's advantage, deception and ambush, effective communication and coordination, and flexibility and adaptability in maneuvering. These principles enable a commander to outmaneuver the enemy and gain strategic advantage, leading to successful outcomes in battle. Chapter 8. Variation in tactics. Sun Tzu said, "In war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign, collects his army and concentrates his forces. This chapter focuses on the importance of variation in tactics and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Sun Tzu discusses how commanders must be flexible and responsive to the dynamic nature of warfare. Flexibility in strategy. There are not more than 5 musical notes, yet the combinations of these 5 give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard. There are not more than 5 primary colors, yet in combination they produce more hues than can ever be seen. Flexibility in strategy allows commanders to adapt to the unique circumstances of each battle. Just as musical notes and colors can create endless combinations, so too can tactical variations provide limitless possibilities for achieving victory. Commanders must be innovative and creative in their approach to warfare, responding to the enemy. In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. Commanders must be able to respond to the strengths and weaknesses of the enemy. By avoiding direct confrontation with strong forces and targeting weak points, a commander can maximize their chances of success. This requires a deep understanding of the enemy's capabilities and vulnerabilities. Deception and misdirection. Hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder, and crush him. Deception and misdirection are crucial for creating opportunities to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. By presenting false targets or simulating disorder, a commander can lure the enemy into traps and achieve decisive victories with minimal risk. The element of surprise is a powerful tool in warfare, adapting to conditions. In all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle, but indirect methods will be needed in order to secure victory. Adaptability is essential for responding to the dynamic nature of warfare. Commanders must be able to adjust their tactics based on real-time information and changing conditions on the battlefield. This flexibility allows for the exploitation of emerging opportunities and the mitigation of risks. Anticipating the enemy's moves. The skillful warrior avoids the enemy when his spirit is keen and attacks him when it is sluggish and his soldiers are homesick. Anticipating the enemy's moves and timing one's own actions accordingly is crucial for gaining the upper hand. A commander must understand the enemy's state of mind and physical condition to choose the optimal moment for attack. This foresight can turn the tide of battle in favor of the commander. In summary, this chapter emphasizes the importance of flexibility in strategy, responding to the enemy's strengths and weaknesses, using deception and misdirection, adapting to changing conditions, and anticipating the enemy's moves. These principles enable a commander to remain responsive and adaptable, ensuring that they can seize opportunities and achieve victory in the ever-changing landscape of warfare. Chapter 9. Moving the Army. Sun Tzu said, "We come now to the question of encamping the army, and observing signs of the enemy. Pass quickly over mountains, and keep in the neighborhood of valleys." This chapter focuses on the practical considerations of moving and positioning an army in the field. Sun Tzu discusses how to navigate various terrains and how to position forces to gain strategic advantage. Navigating terrain. Cross salt marshes quickly, keep close to water and move along swiftly. Pass quickly over mountains, and keep in the neighborhood of valleys. Understanding and navigating different types of terrain is crucial for maintaining the army's mobility and readiness. Commanders must choose routes that minimize risks and ensure that their forces can move swiftly and efficiently. Proper navigation of terrain helps avoid natural obstacles and enemy ambushes. Positioning the army. After crossing a river, you should get far away from it. When an invading force crosses a river in its onward march, do not advance to meet it in midstream. It will be best to let half the army get across, and then deliver your attack. Positioning the army correctly after crossing obstacles such as rivers is vital for maintaining strategic advantage. Sun Tzu advises against engaging the enemy in vulnerable positions, such as midstream, and instead suggests waiting until the enemy is partially committed before striking. Observation and reconnaissance. In war, practice dissimulation, and you will succeed. Move only if there is a real advantage to be gained. Effective observation and reconnaissance are essential for gathering information about the enemy's Chapter 6. Weak points and strong. Sun Tzu said, "He who is first on the battlefield and awaits the coming of the enemy will be fresh for the fight. He who is second in the field and has to hasten to battle will arrive exhausted. This chapter focuses on identifying and exploiting the enemy's weaknesses while concealing one's own vulnerabilities. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of flexibility and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Exploiting weaknesses. Attack where the enemy is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Sun Tzu advises commanders to study the enemy carefully and identify weak points to strike decisively. This approach leverages surprise and speed to disorient and overwhelm the opponent. By focusing on weak spots, a smaller or seemingly disadvantaged force can achieve significant victories. This principle involves not only physical vulnerabilities, but also psychological ones, aiming to break the enemy's spirit and will to fight. Adapting to conditions. In battle, there are no constant conditions. A general must be able to adapt his tactics to the circumstances. Flexibility is crucial for responding to the dynamic nature of warfare. Commanders must be able to shift their strategies and tactics based on real-time information and changing conditions on the battlefield. This adaptability allows for the exploitation of emerging opportunities and the mitigation of risks. The ability to pivot quickly ensures that a commander can maintain the initiative and keep the enemy off balance. Deception and misdirection. Simulate disorder, and crush him. Deception is a key component of Sun Tzu's strategy. By feigning weakness or disorganization, a commander can lure the enemy into a vulnerable position. Misdirection and false signals can confuse the enemy and force them into making strategic errors that can be exploited. This involves creating false perceptions of strength or weakness, misleading the enemy about your intentions and capabilities. Strategic positioning. He who knows when he can fight and when he cannot will be victorious. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of knowing the strengths and weaknesses of both one's own forces and those of the enemy. A commander must choose the time and place of battle carefully, ensuring that they fight only under favorable conditions. This strategic positioning maximizes the chances of success. Positioning involves not just physical placement on the battlefield, but also timing attacks to exploit enemy vulnerabilities. Resource utilization. Use the resources of the enemy. The skillful fighter puts himself beyond the possibility of defeat and waits for an opportunity to defeat the enemy. Efficient use of resources, including those captured from the enemy, can provide significant advantages. This approach reduces the strain on one's own supply lines and weakens the enemy by depriving him of their assets. Capturing enemy supplies and resources can provide a significant logistical advantage, reducing the burden on one's own supply lines and ensuring sustained operational capability. Chapter 10. Terrain. Sun Tzu said, "We may distinguish 6 kinds of terrain, to wit, 1. Accessible ground, 2. Entangling ground, 3. Temporizing ground, 4. Narrow passes, 5. Precipitous heights, 6. Positions at a great distance from the enemy." This chapter focuses on different types of terrain and how commanders should maneuver their armies based on the terrain they encounter. Accessible ground. Ground which can be freely traversed by both sides is called accessible. On accessible ground, Sun Tzu advises that it is essential to be the first to occupy high positions and sunny spots. This allows one to establish a defensive advantage and control vital pathways. Occupying key positions early can make it difficult for the enemy to launch a successful attack. Entangling ground. Ground which can be abandoned but is hard to reoccupy is called entangling. On entangling ground, Sun Tzu suggests that it is important to carefully assess the situation before committing troops. If one must retreat from this ground, it is difficult to regain, so caution and thorough planning are required to avoid being forced into a disadvantageous position. Temporizing ground. Ground which affords advantage to neither side is called temporizing. On temporizing ground, it is best to avoid prolonged engagements and instead look for opportunities to gain a strategic advantage. This type of terrain does not offer significant benefits to either side, so commanders should seek to move their forces to more advantageous positions whenever possible. Narrow passes. Narrow passes can be strongly held if you occupy them first. Narrow passes are strategic choke points that can be used to control the movement of the enemy. Sun Tzu advises occupying these passes early and fortifying them to make it difficult for the enemy to advance. If the enemy occupies them first, it is crucial to avoid direct assaults and instead look for ways to outmaneuver or cut off their supply lines. Precipitous heights. Precipitous heights are easy to hold but hard to attack. High ground provides a significant defensive advantage. Sun Tzu recommends occupying high ground quickly and using it to dominate the battlefield. If the enemy holds the high ground, it is best to avoid direct attacks and instead seek ways to draw them down to lower, more vulnerable positions. Great distance. If you are at a great distance from the enemy and the strength of the two armies is equal, it is not easy to provoke a battle, and fighting will be to your disadvantage. When positioned far from the enemy, logistics and supply lines become critical. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of maintaining strong supply lines and avoiding unnecessary engagements that could exhaust resources. Instead, commanders should focus on consolidating their positions and ensuring they are well prepared for any eventual encounter with the enemy. In summary, this chapter emphasizes the importance of understanding different types of terrain and adjusting strategies accordingly. Commanders must use the terrain to their advantage, occupy key positions early, and avoid committing to battles on unfavorable ground. Chapter 11. The 9 Situations. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war recognizes 9 varieties of ground. 1. Dispersive ground. 2. Facile ground. 3. Contentious ground. 4. Open ground. 5. Ground of intersecting highways. 6. Serious ground. 7. Difficult ground. 8. Hemmed-in ground. 9. Desperate ground." This chapter outlines the 9 different types of ground and the appropriate strategies for each. Dispersive ground. When a chieftain is fighting in his own territory, it is dispersive ground. On home territory, the focus should be on maintaining unity among the troops and avoiding dispersal. Keeping the army cohesive is essential to leverage the home advantage effectively. Facile ground. When he has penetrated into hostile territory, but to no great distance, it is facile ground. In enemy territory, but not deeply, the commander should remain alert and cautious. The army should be ready to advance or retreat as necessary, avoiding overextension. Contentious ground. Ground the possession of which imports great advantage to either side, is contentious ground. On contentious ground, which offers strategic advantages, it is crucial to be the first to occupy and secure it. Control of such ground can provide significant benefits in terms of positioning and defense. Open ground. Ground on which each side has liberty of movement is open ground. On open ground, where neither side has a particular advantage, maintaining flexibility and mobility is key. The commander should be ready to exploit any opportunity that arises and avoid being caught in a static position. Ground of intersecting highways. Ground which forms the key to 3 contiguous states, so that he who occupies it first has most of the empire at his command, is ground of intersecting highways. Such ground offers control over critical routes and supply lines. It is vital to occupy these positions early and fortify them to control movement and logistics. Serious ground. When an army has penetrated into the heart of a hostile country, leaving a number of fortified cities in its rear, it is serious ground. Deep in enemy territory, the focus should be on maintaining supply lines and avoiding entrapment. The army must be prepared for prolonged engagements and ensure that their rear is secure. Difficult ground. Mountain forests, rugged steeps, marshes and fens. All country that is hard to traverse. This is difficult ground. On difficult ground, the army must move cautiously and avoid being bogged down. Using local guides and scouts can help navigate such terrain effectively and avoid ambushes. Hemmed-in ground. Ground which is reached through narrow gorges, and from which we can only retire by tortuous paths, so that a small number of the enemy would suffice to crush a large body of our men. This is hemmed-in ground. On hemmed-in ground, the priority is to avoid being trapped. The army should move quickly through such terrain and seek to secure exits to prevent encirclement. Desperate ground. Ground on which we can only be saved from destruction by fighting without delay is desperate ground. On desperate ground, where the only option is to fight or face annihilation, Sun Tzu advises rallying the troops and instilling a sense of urgency and determination. Desperation can drive soldiers to extraordinary feats of bravery and resilience. In conclusion, this chapter emphasizes the importance of understanding the different types of ground and adapting strategies accordingly. Commanders must be aware of the specific challenges and opportunities presented by each type of ground and make decisions that maximize their advantages while minimizing risks. Chapter 12. Attack by fire. Sun Tzu said, "There are 5 ways of attacking with fire. The first is to burn soldiers in their camp. The second is to burn stores. The third is to burn baggage trains. The fourth is to burn arsenals and magazines. The fifth is to hurl dropping fire among the enemy." This chapter discusses the use of fire as a weapon and the strategic considerations for employing it effectively. Burning soldiers in their camp. In order to carry out an attack, we must have means available. The material for raising fire should always be kept in readiness. Setting fire to enemy camps can cause chaos and panic, disrupting their ability to organize and fight back. It is crucial to have the necessary materials and conditions, such as dry weather and favorable wind, to ensure the success of such attacks. Burning stores. There is a proper season for making attacks with fire, and special days for starting a conflagration. Targeting enemy supply stores weakens their ability to sustain their forces. Timing these attacks to coincide with dry conditions increases the likelihood of success and maximizes the damage inflicted on the enemy's resources. Burning baggage trains. The proper season is when the weather is very dry. The special days are those when the moon is in the constellations of the sieve, the wall, the wing, or the crossbar. For these 4 are all days of rising wind. Disrupting the enemy's logistics and supply lines can cripple their operational capabilities. Attacking baggage trains forces the enemy to divert resources to protect their supplies, weakening their overall strength. Burning arsenals and magazines. In attacking with fire, one should be prepared to meet 5 possible developments. 1. When fire breaks out inside the enemy's camp, respond at once with an attack from without. Destroying the enemy's stockpiles of weapons and ammunition can severely limit their ability to continue fighting. Coordinated attacks that combine fire with direct assaults can maximize the impact and ensure that the enemy is unable to recover quickly. Hurling dropping fire among the enemy. The fire must be unquenchable. If it is not, the enemy will bring water in large vessels to quench the flames. Using incendiary devices to spread fire among enemy ranks can cause widespread panic and disarray. Ensuring that the fire cannot be easily extinguished increases its effectiveness and forces the enemy to divert efforts to contain the blaze, reducing their combat effectiveness. In summary, this chapter emphasizes the strategic use of fire as a weapon in warfare. By targeting enemy camps, stores, baggage trains, arsenals, and troops, commanders can create chaos, disrupt logistics, and weaken the enemy's ability to fight. Proper timing, preparation, and coordination are essential for maximizing the effectiveness of fire attacks. Chapter 13. Use of spies. Sun Tzu said, "Raising a host of 100,000 men and marching ###." Chapter 10. Terrain. Sun Tzu said, "We may distinguish 6 kinds of terrain, to wit, 1. Accessible ground. 2. Entangling ground. 3. Temporizing ground. 4. Narrow passes. 5. Precipitous heights. 6. Positions at a great distance from the enemy." This chapter focuses on different types of terrain and how commanders should maneuver their armies based on the terrain they encounter. Accessible ground. Ground which can be freely traversed by both sides is called accessible. On accessible ground, Sun Tzu advises that it is essential to be the first to occupy high positions and sunny spots. This allows one to establish a defensive advantage and control vital pathways. Occupying key positions early can make it difficult for the enemy to launch a successful attack. Entangling ground. Ground which can be abandoned but is hard to reoccupy is called entangling. On entangling ground, Sun Tzu suggests that it is important to carefully assess the situation before committing troops. If one must retreat from this ground, it is difficult to regain, so caution and thorough planning are required to avoid being forced into a disadvantageous position. Temporizing ground. Ground which affords advantage to neither side is called temporizing. On temporizing ground, it is best to avoid prolonged engagements and instead look for opportunities to gain a strategic advantage. This type of terrain does not offer significant benefits to either side, so commanders should seek to move their forces to more advantageous positions whenever possible. Narrow passes. Narrow passes can be strongly held if you occupy them first. Narrow passes are strategic choke points that can be used to control the movement of the enemy. Sun Tzu advises occupying these passes early and fortifying them to make it difficult for the enemy to advance. If the enemy occupies them first, it is crucial to avoid direct assaults and instead look for ways to outmaneuver or cut off their supply lines. Precipitous heights. Precipitous heights are easy to hold but hard to attack. High ground provides a significant defensive advantage. Sun Tzu recommends occupying high ground quickly and using it to dominate the battlefield. If the enemy holds the high ground, it is best to avoid direct attacks and instead seek ways to draw them down to lower, more vulnerable positions. Great distance. If you are at a great distance from the enemy and the strength of the two armies is equal, it is not easy to provoke a battle, and fighting will be to your disadvantage. When positioned far from the enemy, logistics and supply lines become critical. Sun Tzu emphasizes the importance of maintaining strong supply lines and avoiding unnecessary engagements that could exhaust resources. Instead, commanders should focus on consolidating their positions and ensuring they are well prepared for any eventual encounter with the enemy. Sun Tzu also discusses the importance of understanding the psychology and behavior of the enemy when choosing terrain. All armies prefer high ground to low and sunny places to dark. If you are careful of your men and camp on hard ground, the army will be free from disease of every kind, and this will spell victory. The terrain affects not only the tactical situation but also the health and morale of the troops. In summary, this chapter emphasizes the importance of understanding different types of terrain and adjusting strategies accordingly. Commanders must use the terrain to their advantage, occupy key positions early, and avoid committing to battles on unfavorable ground. They must also consider the psychological and physical well-being of their troops when choosing where to camp and fight.